Good morning. Today is Wednesday, December 10th, and this is Devotions from St. Paul Evangelical Lutheran Church in Colorado, Pennsylvania. I'm going to take an Old Testament passage today from the book of Genesis. And this is one of the early stories about the patriarch Abram, before his name was changed to Abraham. And these things are important because they're referenced in the New Testament and they have meaning for us today. So I'm going to read from the first part of the chapter 15 from Genesis. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great. But Abram said, O Lord God, what will you give me? For I continue childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said to him, You have given me no offspring, and so a slave born in my house is to be my heir. But the word of the Lord came to him, This man shall not be your heir. No one but your very own issue shall be your heir. He brought him outside and he said, Look toward the heaven and count the stars, if you are able to count them. Then he said to him, So shall your descendants be. And Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord reckoned it to him as righteousness. The last line, of course, is the most famous line in this passage. But let's take a little bit look at the history of Abram up to this point. Abram was the offspring of a family in Mesopotamia. And with his family, they moved, and when his father died, he got a vision that he should go to a place that he had never been, and in fact knew very, very little about. But he went. And the Bible tells us that he took his wife, Sarai, and his nephew Lot with him, and that he had some possessions when he went. But over the time that he was first in this new land, he prospered. And he prospered, he felt, because the Lord was taking care of him. Prospered so much that he and Lot had to separate because their flocks got to be too large. Then there was a war, and Lot was taken captive. And this passage that I just read came shortly after Abram took people from his part of the congregation between him and Lot and rescued Lot and defeated the kings that had defeated Lot. And then the Lord came and spoke these words. And it's interesting to me that Abram's first thing to say to the Lord at this point was a complaint. What have you given me? I have no heir. Now, all of this material stuff, that's nice, but it doesn't mean that much. I have no heir in this world. How like you and I is that? We have what we have, and there's always something else more that we want. And just like happened to Abram, the Lord was willing to provide it. In fact, the Lord wanted to provide it and said, Your heir will be your very own issue, your own sons. That's a big deal. But the bigger deal, right then, right there, when the Lord told him, when the Lord showed him the stars in the sky and said, Your descendants shall be as numerous as this, Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord reckoned it to him as righteousness. Martin Luther, when he was writing on this passage, said, This is the first time in the Bible that the idea of faith is written about. That the idea that we are justified by the faith in the Lord. And it was Abram. Now, think about the timing of this. it was just Abram and Sarai. Lot had been recaptured, released from hostage from the people that had taken him, but they had no children. There was no population. Even Isaac hadn't even been born yet. And so this is way before the law, way before Moses got the law from the Lord. And we get this idea that faith is the basis of relationship with God. This is so powerful an idea that when Paul was writing, he used this particular example to say faith is more important than the law. Now, please understand, he did not say the law is unimportant. He said the law is to be followed, but he also said we as human beings do not have the capacity to follow the law to the standard that the law is set. And so this idea of faith becomes the means, the most important thing. Abram believed the Lord, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness. Righteousness, a right relation with God. Here we are in the modern age, and we're post all of this, post everything that's in the Bible, except for the passages that tell about the next time Jesus is going to come and reestablish the perfect Eden. And faithfulness, belief in Jesus now is the key to our righteousness, our right relationship with God. I hope you'll read this passage and recognize just exactly how important this faith that Abram showed is, and how important it is for us today to have the same faith, the same belief, the same assurance that God, now in the person of Jesus, is taking care of us, has always taken care of us, and even more important, will always take care of us. He has done what we need. Have faith in Jesus. Thank you.